Hello guys, today we are just going to learn a new function in Excel, and that is the lambda function. So lambda function in Excel is just a game changer, I could say. So just to create a custom functions that can be called by user friendly names, and then we can reuse them throughout our workbook. So basically we can now so basically just take an existing complex formula what we are using in Excel, and after that just wrap it up in a lambda, and then just give it a name, whatever the name we like, just give that reference. And then instead of typing in the long complex formula, we can simply recall the formula using the name what we have given. So that's the lambda means. It just convert a lengthy existing formulas into a user friendly function. So we are just giving the name, and whenever we are just going to use the formula, we are just recall, or we are just calling the same name what we have given. So that's lambda means. So just look at like this long complex formula. So for instance, this is a sort by formula, and you can see throughout this formula we have lots of different cell ranges, and these cell ranges effectively, I only have two different cell ranges that I am using in this formula, that is C4 to C19 and D4 to D19. So that's the ranges. And what I could do here is, this is very similar to when you are using the let function, that is the let function, as I could declare my variable. So all that means is giving those cell references, those ranges, and the user friendly names. So you can see here I might decide to call the cell range C4 to C19. As you can see in the declare variables, I am just giving this range one name, and that is the data range. Cell range D4 to D19, I am just giving the name product range. So then I could use those names in the formula instead of the cell references, and you can see here what that would look like. So so that this is the new formula, and this is my formula that look like. So now once we have this new formula that we are using, that's using our declare variables, we can then create our own custom functions, and this is really where the power of lambda lies. So we are using the name manager. Now you can see the refers to what we are referring our new formula after just putting a new name ranges what we have just allocate, and after that we have just given one name. So whenever using the formula, we have to just call this name the sum of product. So using the name manager, I can give this entire complex formula user friendly name, that is called the sum of product. And then every time I want to reuse that formula in the workbook, I simply have to recall it by the name as opposed to typing in the lengthy formula. So that's the basics of how a lambda works. So let's look at it in the actions, and let's take a look at an example of a very basic lambda which will help you give you an idea as how these functions work actually. So what we have in this first table, and you can see the some sales prices listed out in a column, and what we want to do is we want to work out what the price is going to be when we add 20% sales tax, as you can see here. So this is a straightforward calculation, right? All we need to do is just equal to b8 multiplied by, now because I don't have a 20% right now in any of the column, I will just recall it. I'm going to do this in a slightly different way. We are going to say I could say 1 plus 20%. Right now in a cell I'm going to do this. So we are going to say 1 plus 20%, that's going to give us our total amount. as you can see here. Now double click to copy this down, and you can see our new value. It's just a simple way. So we, but now we could convert this into a lambda. Okay. Lambda, and then we can set it up as a function and reuse these functions whenever we want to increase the prices by a specific tax rate. And it does not necessarily have to be 20%, it could be any value. So let's take a look at what this would look like if we create lambda. So let's click in cell and we are going to type it. Now the first thing we need to define for our lambda are our parameters. So now I'm going to start out just by defining one parameter, and just because I'm not very good at thinking of parameter names, we are just going to call it x, x for an argument's sake. So now this is kind of a similar to a let, and but there is one major difference we can see here. If we are doing a let, so we set up what values attributed to this variable in the next argument. So we would press comma, and that x refers to cell b8. Now we are using a lambda, so you don't do it in this way. So you define the values at the end of the calculation. I will show you how. So we are going to say that x represents b8, but we are going to do our calculation first of all. So our calculation to work out the tax is going to be b8. So here would be x multiplied by 1 plus 20%, and then I need to close off my lambda. So now if I add enter, it will so I'm just going to get a calc error, and that is because I haven't told the excel formula that what x means. I need to define this at the end of the calculation. So in brackets we define what our value. I need to define this at the end of the calculation. So in brackets we define what our variable means. So in this example, x equal to cell b8. So in this example, x is equal to cell b8. So b8 is our x value means, and we are just going to hit enter, and we can see our values here. So just drag it down, and our values here. So how about we add a second variable into this call calculation? How about we add a second variable in our calculations, and so how about we add a second variable into this calculation to represent 20%? So well, let's click where we have our variables, and I'm just we have our variables, and we are just going to give me I'm just going to give a second variable the name, that is y, and then at the end I'm going to let excel know what y actually means. So y is 20%. So that is my formula. So I can then replace the 20% that we have in the formula with the y instead, and we hit enter. So as you can see, our lambda value is defined. So I get exactly the same thing. So now that we have our lambda, so what we can do is we can create a function using this formula, and then we can reuse these functions wherever we like in the worksheet. Now when you are setting up these functions, you only need the part of the formula. You just need a part of the formula before the reference what you have given to your value. So just copy this. So basically everything before that we have assigned value to our variables, we have copied. So now we are going to go up to the formulas tab and name manager, and we are going to create a brand new, just let me, so we are just going to a brand new going to be called price plus tax, I could say. and then I can simply control plus V here and our values here. So by like 20% I just want to remove this, and I'm just giving one variable here, that is a y%, delete this. So now here it is. So let's click on OK. So now let's just see that. So I can simply call out my functions whenever I want. So how I can do that? Let's see here. Equal to price plus tax was my function. You can see here, just press tab, and they are asking just for two variables. So x can be the range what we want, and y can be the percent, and it will just what the text we want that our price can come up with. It's just coming up with the intelligence. So let's press. So here you can see the my x value is the sales price, and what's my y was going to be. So now I don't have to enter in 20%. So as I have just show you in this column, so I can use this for any tax rate. So let's say we want to know what the sales prices will look like with 40%. So just press here, hit enter, and you can just see it just a one click of button. You can so and I could reuse this new custom functions over and over again in my worksheet on data that is the relevant. So again, let me show you an example. Again, price plus tax, I'm just calling it. Press tab, x the sales price what we want here. Just suppose we want 80% now, percent here, and just hit enter, and you can see our values here. Just click of a button, you don't have to do anything. So whenever you are just trying to do that, just try this new lambda function here. So now we have just going to see some what we have under our belt. So let's take a look at a slightly more complex lambda here. So now what I am aiming to do here is I want to sort this table of data by this salary column in ascending order, and then by the reason in ascending order. So let's take a look at this calculation without doing a lambda first of all. So we are going to use sort by for this. Sort by for this. So let's select the information that we want to sort and return. Now I want to return every single column. So my array is going to be everything, comma, and everything. So what the first column that I want to sort by, well, I want to sort by this salary column here. I just want to sort it by the salary column. Select this, comma, I just want it to sort it by ascending order. So now, like, what's the second array that I want to sort it by? So well, I want to sort it by the reason. Select this, comma, 1. So let's close the bracket and hit enter, and that's the result what we have. So now you can see here in column H and I need to like all them. So what's that's going to be look like? So now if we look at this calculation, we have three different ranges that we are using. Yes, that is A4 D17, D4 to D17, and C4 to C17. So we could set this up as a variable. So let's click at the beginning and type here lambda, press tab. find my parameters or my variables, and this time I'm going to name them something a little bit more meaningful. Now, so the first range that we reference in sort by is A4 to D17, which is basically all of my data. So we are gonna the first range that we reference, that is all of my data in a column table. The second range I reference the salary one, that is the D4 to D17. I'm just giving it reference, and after that by the reason just select this. So I have already given the reference here. Now I have my three parameters. So I need to attribute value to those. So we are going to click right. Now remember, because we opened a parenthesis for lambda, we need to close off an extra one. And now we can define our variable. So the data relates to the entire data set. So the range A4 to D17, the data relates to the salary column. So A4 to D17, we are going to replace it with the data, and after that this D4 to D17, that's I'm just replacing it with the salary, and after that there is a C4 to C17, and I'm just replacing and I'm just giving the variable that is the reason. Oh, I have to just remove this, just put a comma here. So now that we have our, and we are going, and we have to just replace all this. So yeah, I can just replace it. So here we can replace it by the data. Here this can be replaced by salary, and this one can be replaced by reason. Just put this here and just remove this here, and we are done. So now that we have our lambda calculation, we can set this up as a function. Now remember, you only need to only copy the process or part of the lambda. So that is everything before the variables. Before the variables, control C. Control C here. So let's jump up to the formulas tab and just go to name manager here. We will create a new name here. Just come to this, delete this, control V here, and we are, and it can be sort by number variable. So this is the name what we are just giving. Just okay. Let's close. So now if we delete out this, if we delete it out, we are deleted out the to, and the sort by number variable here. Press tab. So data. So the data would be the whole data what we want. Salary we want, comma, and the reason. So all the data we want, it's come like this, and press enter, and all the data is with you. We are just getting the exactly the same results. So let's use the same formula on a different set of data. So if we scroll down, I have something similar. So now let's find it out. Just copy this, paste it over here. So the data you want to I just want to reuse the formula, or has to be it must be a kind of a similar to the data that you used to create the lambda. So this time I have products, I have some prices, and I have regions and the locations. So and maybe I want to sort it by the price here, and by the region column. So let's just output our headings over here, and we are going to go into our function. Just go equal to sort by number variable here. Press tab, data, just select all the data what we want, comma, salary, it must be price here, comma, and the reason would be reason here. Just close the parenthesis and just press enter, and all the data, and the data we want sorted by, that's the price, it is in the ascending order. I tried this out. I have to, I'm just going to sort category by the revenue. So again I'm just press equal to sort by number variable here, press tab, the data what I'm selecting here, comma, salary would be revenue right now I'm selecting, and the last one would be the reason. Just close the parenthesis and just hit enter, and all the revenue has been, you can see it is sorted out by ascending order. So those are so these are the few different ways that you can use the new lambda functions and create your own functions in Excel. It really is a great tool and a complete game changer, and I really do encourage you to have a little play around with this and experiment on the different sets. So that's all like for this video.